We'll call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing on the agenda with anything is proclamations, and I've got 3 of them tonight. And Josiah, if you want to meet me at the podium, we'll do the Children's Mental Health Awareness Day first. Proclamation. Whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of children, youth, and families today is fundamental to the future of Silver City, New Mexico, and whereas the need for comprehensive, coordinated mental health services for children, youth, and families places upon our community a critical responsibility, and whereas it is appropriate that a day should be set apart each year for the direction of our thoughts towards our children's mental health and well-being, and whereas Grant County Children's Systems of Care, in cooperation with community behavioral health and school partners, utilizes a unique collaborative approach to caring for the mental health needs of children, youth, and families in our community. Now, therefore, I, James R. Marshall, Mayor of the Town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim May 9th, 2013 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Day in Silver City. And I urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations interested in meeting the mental health needs of children and youth to engage in activities, programs, and approaches that strengthen families and communities toward the goal of improving the mental health and well-being of our children and youth. And I have Josiah Reyes to accept. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. Don't really need a microphone, I guess. I'd just like to announce that we have an event for this. It's actually on May 11th. I know Mental Health Awareness Day is actually on May 9th, but we're having an event on the 11th, which is a Saturday, which is one of the big reasons why we're having it. Basically, we did it last year. We provided a scavenger hunt for some of the youth between the ages of 11 and 20. And we invited some local services from the region, behavioral mental health services, as well as any other community resources or services, to come and set up kind of like a little booth where they could share their information with the youth or community members who might be going through the downtown area. We actually set it up in the Wellness Coalition, so that's where it was kind of centered around. We had a pretty good turnout last year. We had a scavenger hunt with some prizes for the youth, and we had a dinner immediately afterwards with some entertainment for whoever wanted to stay for that. So we're doing that again this year, and we're including all the services that we can. We got some from WNMU going, I think some representatives from JPO and some local churches as well. Pretty much any other resources or things of that nature that might be useful for any youth or families, pretty much. So just, I guess, spread the word if you can. If you know anyone who'd be interested in attending, any youth or any community members who want to go and learn about some resources that they might not be aware about, tell them about this event. Again, it's May 11th, and the actual scavenger hunt is going to start at 2 o'clock. It's going to go from 2 to 5, and you all might see some service providers scattered throughout the town, because they might pair up with some local businesses, so you all might see some of their booths. So if you do, go and say hello and visit with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, Penny and crew for the bowling. Proclamation. Whereas over 30% of the youth in the United States are estimated to be involved in bullying and or harassment each year, either as perpetrator or victim. And whereas an estimated 160,000 students in kindergarten through 12th grade miss school every day due to a fear of being bullied or harassed. And whereas bullying and harassment can take many forms, including verbal, physical, and via cyberspace, and can happen in many places. And whereas bullying and harassment are an increasingly significant problem in the United States. And whereas it is important for the town of Silver City and the community at large to be aware of bullying and harassment and to encourage an area-wide discussion of the problem. And whereas the town of Silver City is committed in its desire to help educate and encourage positive behaviors and to help eliminate bullying and harassment behaviors. Now therefore, I, James R. Marshall, Mayor of the Town of Silver City, Grant County, New Mexico, proclaim our commitment to education about the prevention of bullying and harassment within our community and schools, exploring solutions to the problem and offering support in raising awareness. And therefore, the Town of Silver City also proclaims that the town shall be declared bullying and harassment-free zones. And with us, we have a bunch of people who have been working to address the issues. Would somebody like to say a few words?
Sure. We have a number of events coming up, the first being on May 9th, which is a day-long seminar for educators and counselors and other helping professionals. That'll be at Western. And then on May 10th, we have our community bullying prevention forum, which is happening at about 6:30 at the Silver City Women's Club. And that's open to the public. We'll have Esther Williams there also. She is a internationally recognized bullying prevention educator. And then we're working on a day camp in July for middle school students to help them learn to stand up for themselves and to work as an ally for others. Anything else, Annie? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Davis. It's a proclamation, whereas the town of Silver City has been advised that Commander James E. Coots, is that right?
Right.
National Commander of the American Legion, representing 2.8 million members, will make an official visit to the Ellingham Golding American Legion Post 18, Silver City, New Mexico, on May 14, 2013. And whereas this official visit is to recognize and confer with members of the American Legion and all veterans who served honorably in any branch of the armed services during any period of conflict entered into by this great nation, who are eligible to be members of the American Legion. And whereas this appears to be the first time a national commander has honored the post with his visit to Silver City. And whereas the American Legion is the oldest and largest veteran service organization in America, with many citizens of Silver City as past and present members of the Ellingham Golding American Legion Post 18, which has been active since it was chartered in 1919. Now therefore, I, James R. Marshall, Mayor of the Town of Silver City, proclaim that May 14, 2013 is hereby proclaimed to be American Legion Day in Silver City, honoring the official visit of National Commander James E. Coots, and therefore encourage all citizens to observe American Legion Day in honor of the visit of James E. Coots, National Commander of the American Legion. Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, the only thing I have to say is that in almost 100 years, this is the first time that American Legion National Commander has come to Silver City, and that's a great honor for us. And if we could get everybody to put some flags out and so on, it would just be a great thing. Appreciate it very much.
Nobody signed up for public input. Excuse me, so the next item on the agenda will be council comments. Councilor Bettison, would you like to start?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday is Comcast Cares Day. They're working with the Members Region Arts Council at the 12th Street Bridge, 12th Street and Santa Rita Streets from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., putting up a beautiful new mural for the town on, I think it's Water is Life, so Agua es la Vida. So if you can join in and help put up the mural, I know that they would really appreciate it. So once again, that's this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the 12th Street Bridge at 12th Street and Santa Rita Streets. So hope to see you there. And I just want to say that I had the pleasure of welcoming the New Mexico chapter of the General Federation of Women's Clubs at their New Mexico chapter annual conference this past Friday. And they had 68 women from various different women's clubs, individual women's clubs throughout the state of New Mexico. And I know that the club parking lot and all the way around it was completely full all weekend because I lived close by. So they seem to have a lot of fun, and it's a great organization. So that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cook?
No comment.
Thank you. Councilor Rick?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to congratulate on Mr. Mike Connor. He has an individual that's down there every morning waiting for Mr. Connor to open up his business, and he cleans. And if you're ever down there, tell Mr. Connor thank you for hiring that guy. Also, there was a tournament at Scott Park this past weekend, and the Little League Baseball, and it turned out to be very well. I went down there and I had a lot of good comments from the opposing coaches and teams that they ranked this Scott Park facility in the top 3. And they've been to a lot of baseball tournaments all around. And I had a talk with Mr. Brown, and we discussed a few things. The Tour de Gila is coming up. Be sure, be very extra careful with a bicyclist. And also with the driving of the public. Getting back to the proclamation of American Legion, I still would like to see a lot of people in Grand County and in Silver City put up the American flag. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Morales?
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I, as well as, would like to join Councilor Ray in welcoming the bicycles from all over the world to Silver City and Grant County. And I know not everybody is as tolerant of them, but it's just for a few short days. And let's make sure that everybody is able to stay safe and we don't ruin any lives. So welcome to the area. And that's all I will say. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next item is approval of minutes of the regular meeting of the Silver City Town Council, April 9th, 2013.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor.
Moved that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council of April 9th, 2013.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Silver City Town Council from April 9th, 2013. There being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is reports. Mr. Brown?
No reports.
Thank you. Chief? Thank you. From our legal team? From our clerk?
No report.
All right. I dug as deep as I could. No, I'm not going to let my wife give a report. But I appreciate her being here. So next item on the agenda is under unfinished business, approval, disapproval of bid number 12/13-10, homeowner rehabilitation project. Mr. Brown.
Council, as you know, at the last council meeting, we had to reject the bid for this project. So we went out to bid the next day for the shortest period possible, and we amended the cost estimate, which was accepted by HUD. So we received another bid for the same project from Chavez Construction, who was the only bidder on the project, for an amount of $60,310 plus gross receipts taxes, for a total of $64,041.68. It's staff's recommendation to accept the bid There is funding in the grant, so it is a 100% grant. None of the funds will come out of town's funds, so it is our recommendation to award the bid.
Any discussion? Entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor?
I move that we approve bid number 12/13-10, homeowner rehabilitation project, per staff's recommendation to Chavez Construction in the amount of $64,041.68, which is total, including GRT.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve staff recommendation on bid 121310. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve staff recommendation on bid 121310 homeowner rehab project and award to Chavez Construction for a total including GRT of $64,041.68. There being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2013-15, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and intercept agreement by and between the town of Silver City and the New Mexico Finance Authority in the principal amount of $246,499 for the purpose of financing the cost of purchasing the Silco Theater building. Mr. Brown.
Mayor and Council, this is the resolution to continue moving forward on our part of the purchase agreement of the Silco property. This is just our part to acquire the financing, but we do not have to accept the loan unless the Main Street, the other party to the purchase agreement, does meet all the requirements of the purchase agreement that was approved by the town council. So until those requirements are met by Main Street, we're not taking this loan completely out. We're just getting, it's in place and ready to go if everything is met by Main Street.
Anybody in the audience like to speak? Councilor Morris.
Mr. Mayor, I think that we definitely need to keep pursuing and getting putting everything in place to see what, just to ensure that as things progress, that we have everything in line. I know that the local Main Street and the state Main Street have been putting a lot of effort forward. State Main Street has, through state contract, assigned one of their people, Elmo Baca, to oversee the project and get everything lined up so that it's managed and everything's in line. They've also, through the state contracts, put in an architect to make sure that all that work is in place, and so everything's is moving forward from that standpoint. Still have to see if everything else can be met and if anything needs to come forward, but we still need to keep, as everything moves forward, we need to see that this is pushed through, I believe.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor.
So, Mr. Brown, I understand, per the purchase agreement that was resolution 2013-14, if I'm correct, which we did in the first meeting in March, I think it was March 16th or something like that, that purchase agreement requires that the seller, which is the Silco, the Main Street, would have everything, all the completion of all the required renovations within 5 days prior to closing, and then we would move forward with everything. So all contingencies have to be met within that purchase agreement between the town and Main Street in order for us to move forward with the completion of the loan agreement and the intercept agreement. But, so the town has all of its ducks in a row. We're just waiting for all of the contingencies to be met by Silver City Main Street, correct?
Yes, correct. And from my discussions with Ms. Whitmarsh, she told me that they were supposed to have some sort of preliminary information as to the costs and what was exactly was going to need to take place for the property to be in condition to become a theater by the beginning of May. So if they do require additional time, because I believe the deadline was May 31st for the purchase agreement, so if they do require additional time, which I assume that they are going to need, that agreement is going to have to come back to you to extend it and to amend the agreement in any way necessary, if you so choose. So you are still in complete control of what ultimately happens as far as this loan, and that final decision is in your hands before we spend any money.
Okay, so I want to just make sure that we're all on the same page, because ultimately the purchase agreement, if I remember correctly, is that, as we discussed in March, is that after this is all completed and the contingencies are met on both sides, and we've met ours, if we pass this tonight, then, and everything's met on the part of Silver City Main Street, everything goes forward, then over the next 8 years, they will actually lease to purchase the property from us. Is that correct?
The lease agreement is not in place yet, but they will either lease it or lease to own it, yes.
Which was the intent when we talked about it in March.
Yes.
So that ultimately there would not be any
There would not
cost to the town citizens, to the town, to the citizens of the town.
Yes, all the discussions have been that the lease or lease to own agreement would be in an equal amount to the debt service payments, so that nothing would come out of our pockets.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that it's clear and that that we've gone through everything, just to make sure it's in the record. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Just, Mr. Brown, I'm a little concerned about their contract that they have for their state Main Street grant. We had put the deadline as May 31st at their request, knowing that that was a very tight construction schedule. If they ask for an extension, is that going to jeopardize the state Main Street grant?
No, the state Main Street grant already extended it to the deadline to either September or October.
Okay.
They already amended that agreement.
And we've seen that?
It's in our hands already.
Okay. I think we have to be very careful. In the original deadline that we had put was a fatal flaw, which was October, and because of that other funding. So I just want to make sure that as we go forward, we don't get caught holding a bill that we didn't anticipate.
In fact, State Main Street initiated the extension. So they've been in contract with the local Main Street boards, and understanding sort of that it's going to take longer than the May deadline, that the original grant was the deadline for the original grant. So they initiated the extension of the grants from the state.
And will our inspection department be involved in making sure that they meet the contingencies as far as hiring a general contractor? And
yes, they will have to meet all those contingencies, and we will be overseeing it as far as the building inspector. And we actually, I'm going to have somebody contract engineer or architect to oversee and insure it from our side, just to guarantee that we're protected as well.
Thank you. Councilor Besson.
So, with this change to the Main Street funds, how does that affect what we're doing tonight? Because there's deadlines in what we're doing tonight with this resolution.
It doesn't change this at all. This doesn't actually go into effect unless we actually draw down the funds.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure. So we don't have to worry about that. It's still the same thing that we talked about earlier, that once they're completed and they've met the contingencies, then we go forward.
Yes, all this is doing is ensuring that we meet our portion, our side of the contract, and have the funds available by May 31st,
Okay.
which was the original agreement. So we're meeting our side. We're just going to see what needs to happen on the other side.
And then, so we're going to have somebody on our side making sure that everything's being done, but I also noticed that earlier Councilman Morona said that Elmo Baca had been contracted by State Main Street to manage the project, and it does state that Silver City Main Street will employ the services of a licensed general contractor for the purpose of oversight and management of the renovations. So ultimately, Mr. Baca will not be able to do that unless he's a licensed contractor, correct?
That's correct. Or their architect or engineer that they
Would be the individual that would be managing.
They would be managing it for their side. We would have a licensed engineer contractor overseeing it to protect our interests on the other side.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilor Morris.
Very quickly, Elmo Baca is simply to, see the project going forward and everything, and as we get a licensed contractor, he would be in large part, maybe the liaison between the board and that individual. You're absolutely right, he's not a licensed contractor and would not be fulfilling that role in the project. I know the state Main Street and the local Main Streets, they want to see this as soon as possible, and they're still working diligently to get this done as soon as possible. Under the realization that it probably is not going to happen by the end of May, but that is still an aspiration to, every effort's going to that. They don't want to be pushing this thing off to the last second as what had kind of occurred.
Any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of resolution number 2013-15, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and intercept agreement by and between the town of Silver City and the New Mexico Finance Authority in the principal amount of $246,499 for the purpose of financing the cost of purchasing the Silco Theater building.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2013-15. Is there any other discussion? There's a motion and a second and no further discussion to approve Resolution number 2013-15, authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and intercept agreement by and between the town of Silver City and the New Mexico Finance Authority in the principal amount of $246,499 for the purpose of financing the cost of purchasing the Silco Theater building. Roll call, please.
Councilor Morones?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Cook?
Aye.
Councilor Bedison?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of resolution number 2013-16, authorizing the filing of an application for funding with the New Mexico Finance Authority for Scott Park multi-use fields lighting. Mr. Brown.
What this resolution does is it authorizes me to submit an application to the New Mexico Finance Authority for up to $700,000 for the lighting for the Scott Park multi-use fields complex. The town already has the design for the lighting, the protective netting, all of that is complete, 100%. Actually, we even have the designs for the concession stand and restroom facility. So we already have everything ready to go. The town was awarded $275,000 between two legislative allocations, one from Senator Morales and one from Representative Martinez for this project. So this is supplementing and getting the final funds that will be required to finish this phase of the project.
Any discussion from the audience? Come on up.
I'm Susie McAndrew, Executive Director of the Southwest New Mexico Green Chamber of Commerce, and I hope that as we move forward with this project that we do consider energy efficient lighting and also protecting our dark skies. So I hope that's in part of the process.
Yeah, the dark skies that's just state law that we're required to follow. So the lighting has always been designed in that manner. As far as energy efficient, it's the state-of-the-art energy, as energy efficient as possible for those types of, this type of project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, that's a very good point. Any other discussion? Councilor Besson.
Mr. Brown, because this question will be asked, and I'll hope that you will answer it for the satisfaction of all of those moms and dads and ball players out there. Could you please explain why the lighting comes before the restrooms?
Because temporary restrooms can be put in place. Temporary lighting cannot be put in place.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that, because I get asked all the time, where are the real restrooms? And temporary lighting cannot be put in place, so.
Yes, of course, for that exact reason, as well as the fact that for the size of the investment, we want to ensure that we get as much use out of those fields as possible. And right now, we can only use them during the day. We have requests from all the leagues, every one of them. Even Western New Mexico University, the football team has already scheduled to use the fields for their football practice, and they also would like to see the lighting as well, so they can practice under the lights.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Ray.
Mr. Brown, how many lights are going to be put up there on the field?
I don't know the total number. I guess that was a portion of the project was done by a lighting engineer to get the way that the park is configured. The two that are actually connected, you don't need as many lights because you don't need the side portion of them. We were able to eliminate that portion, but on the other two, you need it all the way around the field. So I don't exactly know. I can't answer that.
Okay. Also, it's to my understanding that the WNMU, women's soccer might be able to use those fields also?
It's a regulation-sized soccer field, so if they do get a soccer team, they would be able to use them.
Thank you.
Just a little bit of response to that is part of the Title IX requirements require that they add 2 more women's sports before adding any additional men's sports. And there is a strong desire to have baseball return to WNMU. So adding women's soccer and women's swimming would allow them to return baseball.
One more quick question. In the lighting efficiency that we're trying to incorporate, it's not just the bulbs and the whole thing, but are we thinking about being able to use some sort of timers as well to be able to, shut them off so that, that they're not glowing, into the night at 3 a.m. unless there's a game that runs late, but I'm just saying so that there's some sort of...
I don't know about that, but I think that should be done by regulation, maybe require that games cannot go past a certain time so that we ensure, and we can put a timer for that. But because of those types of situations where games do go late or they're not using them at all, I don't know about the timer situation, but I will look into that.
I only ask that because I know that like the University Museum, we have our lights on a timing system, and that's so that nobody will forget to turn them off. That automatically will go off. So, and I also, it's just because we also have people that, live across the way. I mean, their ranches and stuff like that, and just thinking about night skies and other sorts of things, because I know that we're accommodating to the state statute for night skies, but just all that sort of thing.
Yes, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
Councilor Ray.
Sorry.
One more question, one more comment. Is there any possible way that on these lights that are going to go up there in Scott Park, can you put some sort of a protective cover in case somebody, the high-powered BB gun, should so desire to take them out?
I can have the engineers look at that as well.
Thank you. No more.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Are you sure? You ran out of words.
I know, I did.
Is there any other discussion? Have we had a motion yet? I kind of lost track.
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Council.
I motion to approve resolution number 2013-16, authorizing the filing of an application for the funding with the New Mexico Finance Authority for Scott Park multi-use fields lighting.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I think you beat that dead horse. That's animal abuse. There's a motion and a second and no relevant discussion for approval of resolution number 2013-16, authorizing the filing of an application for funding with the New Mexico Finance Authority for Scott Park multi-use fields lighting. Roll call, please.
Councilor Morones?
Aye.
Councilor Ray?
Aye.
Councilor Cook? Aye. Councilor Medicine?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval disapproval of notice of intent ordinance number 1219, pledging the distribution of environmental services gross receipts tax revenues received by the town of Silver City, New Mexico from the New Mexico Department of Taxation and Revenue to payment of the Southwest Solid Waste Authority Solid Waste System Improvement and Refunding Revenue Bonds Series 2013, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this ordinance, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the pledge of the pledged revenues to the Series 2013 bonds. Mr. Brown.
Mayor and Council, the Southwest Solid Waste Authority for the last year has been trying to refinance its debt because its debt is, interest rate on all of its debt is fairly high. And one of the requirements from the bank is because they don't really understand how the Solid Waste Authority is functions, in that basically it's created under a joint powers agreement between all the governmental entities within Grant County, basically, which in the end basically says if something happens to their debt, all of that debt goes back on the members. So we ultimately still are responsible for their debt. So the bank, just for an added guarantee, is requesting that both Grant County and Silver City pledge our environmental gross receipts tax. This 1/16% tax is dedicated to the sanitation fund and can only be dedicated to the for solid waste uses. So we receive approximately, this is going to be our highest year ever, we should be receiving about $214,000 in the environmental gross receipts taxes this year. And our tipping fees, what we pay to dump at the landfill, on average, is averaging approximately $500,000. So what we're doing is we're just guaranteeing that debt with our payment of the tipping fees. So that's all we're doing here today, is guaranteeing that debt. And actually, part of that refinance, we've got, both Grant County and Silver City loaned the Solid Waste Authority some funds about 6 years ago. And both the town and county will be paid back those funds out of that refinancing. So this will create a positive cash flow for the town and county.
Any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, any discussion from the council? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Councilor.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of notice of intent ordinance 1219, pledging the distribution of environmental services gross receipts tax revenues received by the town of Silver City, New Mexico, from the New Mexico Department of Taxation and Revenue to payment of the Southwest Solid Waste Authority Solid Waste System Improvement and Refunding Revenue Bonds, Series 2013, ratifying actions heretofore taken, repealing all action inconsistent with this ordinance, and authorizing the taking of other actions in connection with the pledge of the pledged revenues to the Series 2013 bonds.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? There's a motion and a second, no further discussion, to approve resolution number 2013-16 as read twice and published. Oh, that's a notice of intent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is appointments to the cemetery board, and we have 2 openings and 2 applicants that are both duly qualified, and I'd like to reappoint Mr. Ryder South and appoint Mr. Jeffrey Fell. Is there any objection?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Hearing no objection, those 2 are duly appointed. We'll send them their notices. And next item on the agenda is appointments to the Incentive Review Committee. We have several applicants. One was not qualified due to residency. And if there's no objection, I'd like to appoint District 1, Sherry Clements, District 2, Linda Amon Smith, District 3, Robert Donnelly, District 4, Annie Lessem, who's here with us tonight, and the at-large member is Sherry Lyle. If there's no objection?
No objection.
No objection.
Hearing no objection, they are duly appointed. Thank you, Annie. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Council.
I move to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second it.
There is a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.